right, welcome back to the Couch Command. It's been a while, but we're getting things together. We got plans in the future to make our YouTube just a little less ratchet. With me today, I have MJ.
Greetings and salutations. Thanks for having me.
Right on, and also I have with me Isaac.
Hey, thanks for inviting me to talk about Ahsoka.
From the Lots-O-Matic Review YouTube page. You check it out. Also, out of nowhere, at the last minute, stepping in for my buddy Chuck, we have Kid Mystery. He's back.
I'm back, baby, and back with a vengeance.
Woo-ha. All right. So, yeah. Did you copy and paste that format that we're supposed to be doing, Mr. MJ?
Yep.
There it is. Okay. So, general takes on the first season of Ahsoka. MJ, what's your take on the first season?
Well, after our last discussion, I had some higher hopes coming out of the first 2 episodes, and then the last 6 episodes happened. I don't know what it is about Disney Star Wars, but they cannot figure out pacing to save their frickin' lives. It was some of the most languorous and laborious episodes of Star Wars I've had to make it through. And this is after Andor, because everybody picked on Andor for being so long-winded, etc., etc., etc. Everything that happened in the first season of Ahsoka here could have happened in 6 episodes, not 8. But, that aside, being the 5th season of Rebels, which it actually was, it was okay. I kind of miss Snips. I still think that they had Rosario Dawson playing too dour and repressed of an Ahsoka. Even though, she kind of lightened up after she became Ahsoka the Grey after going to and coming back from the World Between Worlds and having her final lesson from Anakin.
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't know. I mean, overall, I guess I'm kind of interested to see where they potentially take the story from here. But if this is the way they're going to tell the story going forward, I'm going to save my 6 to 8 hours and not watch, because this was a chore to watch. No, I'm getting tired of Star Wars being a chore to watch. I want to enjoy my freaking Star Wars. Get to the goddamn point. Have characters actually act the way that they were originally drawn, not just be super dour and crossing their arms constantly just because she did it in the cartoon. Get over yourself. For God's sake. But anyway, that's how I felt about it.
All right. Kid Mystery, who has not actually finished it yet.
No,
why
I
haven't
have
you finished
not.
it? Why not? All right, because of school?
Well, not just because of school. It's mostly I just can't handle Disney anymore. It's just a slog. It's just a slog to watch any Disney stuff. I feel like I don't know, either grown out of it or just can't handle any of their writing / dialogue.
Goddamn.
Make it gay.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Dave Filoni's George Lucas disciplism really showed through in this, because Dave, like George Lucas, really good at world building and real interesting plot lines laid out, but the dialogue.
Hold on.
And the awkward, offbeat character development just.
We gotta get everybody's general take first.
Yeah, sorry.
Mystery. Anything else you gotta say? Any other feelings?
But yeah, I watched the first 2 episodes fully, and then I sort of interspersely seen parts of the last few episodes. I saw the Anakin stuff. I saw some of the Thrawn stuff. I saw I think the last half of the final where they're trying to escape and with all the zombie troopers and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It just was. I just don't feel excitement from any Disney property anymore, I guess.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about this, because I've just been digging around to find out why, how hard is it? Isaac, what's your general take on season 1 of Ahsoka?
Oh man, I thought I was going to be the lone one wearing my hater pants, but looks like it's a haters club and parade. I thought it was immensely disappointing. Still kind of watchable. I don't think it's the lowest Disney Star Wars has come, but I think where the franchise is, this should have been the Great White Hope. This should have been like 5 years of storytelling manifest as Dave Filoni gets to culminate his great animation career by moving into live action. But I don't know. I'm going to probably be repeating this ad nauseum since South Park and Matt Stone have come up with the ultimate sign for the Ahsoka Disney Star Wars or progressive politics in the Pandaverse. Put a chick in it and get. And the most frustrating part is that this was the story where you had it justified to put a chick in it, and maybe you could have made it gay, but it's like Ahsoka did not feel right. MJ told me something really interesting that she's supposed to be in Rebels. Or no, she's like a main character in Rebels season 2, right? She's like with them the time until
Ahsoka was. Yeah, she was basically part of the Ghost crew. She was featured for most of season 2 until whatever happened to her at the end of season 2 that they came back around to in season 4.
So, was she this dour and serious? I thought the whole point of her character is that she's the spunky Jedi. So she was the serious. Does this? I guess my question is the characterization in the Ahsoka TV show match up with what you saw in Rebels?
She was more mature in season 2. I mean, she's obviously grown up more since you'd seen her since the end of Clone Wars, but not as much as Rosario played her.
Yeah.
Good lord.
Oh man.
What I'm seeing there is the Ahsoka people know most is Clone Wars Ahsoka, and she is more upbeat and joyful. But then now we're seeing post OMG Anakin tried to kill me Ahsoka, and she's a lot more dour. But I think what we're seeing is the biggest problem that I'm seeing in a lot of things lately is scheduling and how quickly they have to do things. I'm watching Lord of the Rings again, and I don't want to go too long on this, but I've been thinking about this a long time. Why is everything so messed up? You see the money on the screen, it looks great, but it's always coming up short somehow. And I think what we're seeing is all right, we're on set, we gotta figure this out, we gotta figure this right now. And the shorthand of being stoic, is crossing your arms, versus Lord of the Rings, which had 2 years of meetings of everybody who's on the same page of loving the thing, and they get to figure out hero shots together for years and stuff. So I think what we're seeing is impromptu, having to do it too quickly, and not everyone is on the same page of what should be happening. And I want to go further into my general thoughts, but I'm cutting in on Isaac. Sorry.
Here's the problem. Ahsoka doesn't feel right. She has this whole really, really forced relationship with Sabine Wren, which as far as I know, I felt like I was being gaslit. I was like, when the fuck did these characters have interactions? When did they have this relationship? I was going insane because you spent 2 seasons developing Mandalorian culture. Mm-hmm. You have 2 prominent Mandalorian characters. You have a 3rd Mandalorian characters in the Darksaber, which is in all these stupid cartoons. Wouldn't it have been that hard to have Boba Fett or the stuntman who plays Din Djarin to come in and do shit with Sabine? Was that too it just feels weird to force her to be a Jedi when we've wasted or spent so much time developing Mandalorian culture and to not do anything with that. Fuddled my. And I think the biggest flaw is that it feels like the story of trying to get stop Thrawn, but then getting Thrawn to the galaxy is not the greatest story for a $200 million TV show. It really feels like a side game or a comic book. This feels like the kind of storytelling how did C-3PO get his red arm? Oh, find out in the Marvel comics. This feels like a transitional story that you'd get in a piece of transmedia, but that isn't quite worthy for the real media. Because transmedia is a really interesting thing. I think it really came to the forefront back in the Matrix when they had the Animatrix. They had the Matrix, Enter the Matrix video game, and all these things would kind of, but you'd still have the main flagship, and that is, of course, the Matrix movies. And in Halo, there's a ton, but the main flagship is still the video games. And I remember in Halo 5 had like the worst Halo storyline, and where it just felt like it was all reliant on that's what this feels like. It feels like a transmedia storytelling. So to say some nice things about Ahsoka, I think the best thing is it felt like it took like all the stuff you'd see in the extended universe, but the stuff that would never make it to the main universe, like zombie stormtroopers that have been in books and comics, you would never see that in main Star Wars live action. So that was neat. The space whales were neat to see in live action. Ahsoka going outside of a spaceship and like cutting up lasers felt like something you wouldn't see in live action.
You saw all the time in Rebels. Yeah.
Oh, they did that all the time? They got in freaking spacesuits?
Yeah.
It came in Clone Wars too.
Yeah, in Clone Wars too, but yeah, that was a main staple of Rebels. They're like, we could do space aerobatics outside the Ghost. Woo!
Okay, so it took elements that you don't feel like you usually get, which I feel was like the series' strength. But what was the point of Shin and the poor dead actor who plays like the wise Sith Jedi?
Oh God!
Balin Skull and Shin Hati. Yeah.
Wait, I would get into my general thoughts too, and I can start with them if do you want to cut in for a moment?
Yeah, if you want to transition, but yeah, this should have been the great Orange Hope. It had the talent, it had the money. Dave Filoni has crafted good Star Wars storylines. I don't know if it was him making Kathleen Kennedy happy or what happened, but like I think you can't be mediocre when the whole thing is crashing. There's only so much goodwill, and it is quickly being spent. As with that bombshell article from Variety of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where the Blade was going to have a narrated by a
God!
I did hear that was actually. I did hear that might have been fake news, but I'm not 100% sure. At least from some of the leakers I've seen on Twitter, that might have been just a fake thing, because the person who wrote the Variety article was also the person who wrote like I think it was like a previously false article on Variety. I don't remember what it was specifically called, but I've heard like from various reports that script with the Blade being the fourth like lead might be just a little bit of fake news.
Interesting.
We'll
I mean, it could very well be. I just thought it was wild. It felt like
I'll say that
video.
that we can conceive of it being real is like the state of what they're doing with MCU. Like that doesn't seem too far away from what might happen. And Mahershala was given reasons to apparently, like, he stepped away from it because like it was not a good script. Like it was not doing him or anyone justice. And the reason why I'm looking for Captain Future on the screen right here is because Anakin wears Captain Future cosplay. I wanted to show that off, but
really, he looked like he was wearing like his standard leather Jedi costume, as far as I can tell.
Can you see the screen right here?
It kind of looks like Anakin's outfit.
So, there's lots of more pictures of it that makes it more clear. But here's Anakin's trademark brown leather shoulders and bubble helmet, and then it's bam right there.
Interesting.
Dead on.
That's his Clone Wars armor. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So my general thoughts.
What are your thoughts?
All right, let's see. So, it's a continuation of like doing everything they can to negate Luke Skywalker. Every time they do any big project, it's to take away something like Luke Skywalker did. Rogue One, we made it so Luke Skywalker could make the shot. The sequel trilogy, we took away all Luke's victories and gave it to Rey. And now we're taking away all of Luke's extended universe victories. It's weird. Like I think what people find most weird about Ahsoka is like after it was over, I was like, thinking, I was like, wait, all that stuff was like stuff Luke Skywalker should be doing. Like at this point in the galaxy, after busting the Death Star, hunting down Thrawn should be, Luke Skywalker's number one like order of business. Having a Padawan that he has that he's worried about teaching should be his story. And like when it comes to masters and apprentices, like throughout all time, like anime, kung fu, whatever, like you don't worry about the legacy of your kung fu master. Like you turn into whatever you turn into, and the master, will be sad or proud. But like Ahsoka worrying about Anakin teaching her means nothing because she's never slipped like Anakin has. But Luke, on the other hand, that would have made sense. Um, Luke will have to make some hard decisions, like rolling up on like a Star Destroyer in the depths of space, and like we know this Star Destroyer has been committing genocide over and over, and like they're out of fuel and they have nothing else, but they will do it again. Will Luke kill them all like Darth Vader would? Then you have something there. But yeah, Ahsoka, I liked it at first, and to what's that phrase that people say, where I have a friend who works on the show. So in the order of disclosing something or other, like that I might have a bias. Yeah.
What did your friend do?
He's the prop master for Mandalorian.
Well, it looked well. That's an awesome job.
Yeah.
That's cool.
We're gonna. He has. He said he's tentatively. He might join us on the podcast for an interview. We just gotta get our streaming stuff in order. But yeah, so like all the stuff that I'm about to compliment is his work. So like that, I understand where I'm standing here, where like I'm crapping on everything except for my buddy's work. But like that's like the thing that I feel like is throwing a lot of people off. Like when you look at Ahsoka, like the set designs and the ship designs and like the feel of the look of the world, everything feels great. But when it comes down to it, feels like Kathleen Kennedy meddling. Like, hey, we got this kick-ass story where Luke can blast across the galaxy and fight the whoa, put a chick in it. And the best way they can do that is banking off of a star that they hear fans want and using a known IP character. So you take out Luke and you place in Ahsoka. And that's like the weirdness where everything's forced and doesn't make sense, where she has a Padawan where Luke would have, it would make sense if Luke has one, but she's not a Jedi anymore even.
In Kennedy's defense,
yeah,
I think the only way you can really use Luke anymore is just like really small cameos. Mark Hamill's too old. I think the de-aging technology is too freaking expensive to like have that be your lead in a TV show.
Right.
That just like oozes money. So just from the technical, unless you recast Luke, that's the only way you can do it.
Yeah.
I know they're too scared to do it for now. They're too scared to do it for now. That's the right choice. But yeah, that's the right choice is being away from this era. They should just jump 300 years in the future so they can stop messing with things people love.
This is why I hate Han Solo, the movie, not because of anything it did. Okay, maybe with Lando, but like that's another topic. But this is why I hate Han Solo. It fucked up recasting, and now they're never gonna do it. It made so much less money that they fucked it all up. Han Solo, the actor, was fucking amazing, but like but it made so little money that they're never going to do it again, and it frustrates me.
I think like the like. Okay, so there's another thing. Another note that I have that's an issue that's been going on with Ahsoka is that Disney Plus treats, or Disney and Disney Plus treat Star Wars like pro wrestling. So, as like I think another frustration is that like after Star Wars ended and like we didn't get any more movies, like geeks like me had to go to books, and you'd follow all these people who are like following on the coattails of the popularity of Star Wars by making their own universes that work and flow and whatnot. And through this, we've had a lot of fun where like you go to the next book and like the next trilogy, and it's like all these things make sense. We feel and like explore, and we make our own, and these universes that grow and make sense. And then now you have Disney Plus who go, whoa. We can't just write anything down like it's a book. We have to work with our pro wrestlers that the fans do know. So instead of like making new worlds and new heroes like they should be doing, they feel like they can only use the pro wrestlers they have on the roster, and therefore it forces stuff that doesn't make sense. That
Which
make
is
sense?
funny because
Also,
they actually employed a pro wrestler in Mandalorian.
Yeah, I mean, does all that make sense? Like instead of like growing like they should, they're forced to stick with the toys they think they can only play with, like
also
pro wrestling does.
speaking of pro wrestling, it also does it like because like they want to save like the big guys for like the big events, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
that's why you don't
I
see
think
like Luke, Han, or any of that because like they want the big guys. One, they're expensive, but also two, they want to save it for like the big events. So like something like Ahsoka that feels, going back to Isaac's point, that feels like a transmedia kind of a side story. It would it
I'm
wouldn't
sorry.
feel like it would
Finish
make
your thought.
it wouldn't make sense like if you have like Luke doing this like weird side mission. So they just like, we'll put Ahsoka on it, and then we'll have some of the Luke
Oh,
attributes to it.
I don't think it's that. They've been kind of consistently 100% on put a chick in it. Like they aren't worried about like Luke. They want you to forget Luke. Like they
I
they
don't.
have not stopped on
I think
like
they just think
trashing
it's.
him.
No, I just think they think it's too much of a legacy character, and also they won't recast them.
I
Like Luke,
like
I feel like they treat Luke like this big. I mean, we went to the Disney park thing, and while you
Mhm.
saw like all the new generation sequel stuff,
and more
and you
Leia
felt like
than Luke.
yeah, and you felt like it pushed Luke. For me, it felt like they made Luke more like a legacy, like figure in the past
But
that
you'd only hear
we have
that
to
from
honor.
the actors. It wasn't like the park you'd see that in. That's what I was like observing. Like when you'd hear about Luke Skywalker spoken of in like reverence, it was the actors doing it, like speaking his name, versus like going to any store and seeing Luke portrayed in a big heroic way. Like I know people have been treating it like it's a conspiracy, but they're 100%. Like every time like they sneak a good Luke thing in, like they roll it back and make sure that they turn it into a female. So like another thing is like Kenobi. Ewan McGregor, I know he let this slip on purpose, but like yeah, it was supposed to be Luke and Obi-Wan, which would make sense and like, you know, what you'd want in a book. But as a corporate overlord says, no, put a chick in it. I don't care. Put Leia in there. Yeah, I don't care if it doesn't make sense. Put Leia in there. And then we get the forced uncomfortableness of Obi-Wan. It's just like
No,
we're
they're
getting
saving
like
Luke for season 2, man. Come on.
we're not getting stuff written by
Season
writers.
2,
We're getting
season
stuff
2
written
of
by
Obi-Wan.
people who care about gender over story. It's a real thing. And I think they're finally starting to lose enough money that like the ship is starting to turn. But yeah, it's a weird world of like creation. It's not just like nerds who want to talk about ship battles. It's people thinking that they're using a big property to send a message to help the world in
Well,
their
without
way.
being too hyper focused on the gender swapping, I guess we can call it. I would be more concerned if I were them to just not do stupid, shitty writing.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
The dialogue, the story arcs, it's just
boring.
all
It's just boring.
stupid.
yeah,
I mean,
but like
like
because
I
they're
was saying
forced
before with
into
Ahsoka, that should have been 6 episodes. Kenobi, that could have easily been a 2.5-hour movie if they cut all the fluff out of that goddamn thing and cut out some of the Warner Brothers slapstick crap. And just I don't know who's they're putting in charge as showrunners for all these, but they're just being tasked to elongate the content as much as possible and just pile up hours on the screen
Yep.
and just
And
buy our time, like you used to say all the time, Keith, because
yes,
I'm not seeing any. It's all sugar. They're just giving us a bunch of sugar and expecting us to sit there and digest them and say, "Ooh, I'm full. I'm satisfied."
real quick on that. Real quick on that.
If it was all sugar, it would be like 4 hours of like space explosions.
Real quick on that sugar thing. That's a big problem with this too. The sugar problem is that like, so we step into Ahsoka and like we have the big mystery of another galaxy, another planet, and I better hear some answers right away in this season. Give me the big answers like, why is it a big deal we're in another galaxy? What does it change? And all they did was lay down mystery boxes everywhere and then like act like they did a
Paradia
big
was just
deal.
one big mystery box.
AJ
Yeah.
fucking Abrams.
Yeah, like by the end of the season, they acted like they did something special by just opening up a gigantic question. And you're like, No, you're now I have to wait like 3 years to know what the hell anything.
I blame
Like,
J.J. Abrams. That
yeah.
fucker made this mystery box idea, and he messed up Star Wars so much because of it.
Yes,
I'd say storytelling overall the last 15 years, not just Star Wars. But
Well, there's also outside of just the mystery box. I think a huge problem with Ahsoka is that it just feels like a wanky setup for the eventual super Mandoverse crossover movie that they want to do, right?
if it ever
isn't
gets
it just-
made,
It'd be cool if they did like a substantial setup. Like we got a whole bunch of things laid down and set so that we have some answers. We know the battlefield instead of just like, oh, look at us, the wonder of we don't know what. And like guys, like,
Whoa, what was that statue? Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
what Galen Skull even talking about? Find out in 4 years. Like,
Bro, is it the
guys.
Mortis gods returning? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows whether you like it or not?
but like,
I mean, they almost have to do another season of Ahsoka just to answer all the crap that they set up at the end of the first season. It's like, okay, how's Thrawn going to use the Night Sisters, and how's it going to lead to him being a serious threat to the New Republic and the Shadow Council that they showed in Mandalorian Season 3, and how are they going to eventually recoalesce into the First Order and justify the crap from the sequel trilogy, and how the hell are Ahsoka and Sabine ever going to get back from Paradia, and what is Galen Skull's actual plan for going after the legacy of the father and the son and the daughter of the Force?
Ippy's doing that. Ippy's doing that.
Well, that was the statue they showed him on, that big Lord of the Rings like statue. That was the father of the Force that they had from Clone Wars.
Then they could have said something. Like, yeah.
No, you gotta wait till season 2.
Oh, another thing I'm noticing is like a parallel of like Dungeons and Dragons games and how I used to play as a kid. So like another thing that another reason why they do these bullshit cliffhangers would be that I've been noticing ever since like the Battlestar Galactica remake TV show, where I got to watch like like the script reading, and like one of the characters got killed, and one of the actors went ah. I was like, whoa, you shouldn't be able to have your emotional input in this. Like the story is the story, but I think around there like you could tell that like they care about the gamers that they're playing with, and they don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, and they also want to make sure that you have you can pay your bills next year. So they think they're laying down job security instead of telling a good first chapter of a story. Like there's just so many more things going on than just telling a good story that result in the bullshit I think we're enduring with Disney Star Wars, including the not hyper focusing on gender stuff, but they keep forcing it. And yeah, it's hard to ignore anymore.
Well, I think what makes some of the like writing choices so frustrating is it always kind of feels like in service of like kind of like these sort of the gender politics.
Yeah.
Like Sabine and Ahsoka does not naturally fit. Maybe it could have if you had like one flashback scene, but we didn't even get that. We just got like a little bit of a monologue, but it kind of felt like it was forced to like push to have this three. I also hate how the New Republic is like this ineffective bureaucracy, and it's like, what was the point of like?
That carries over from the books. That was one of the big things. Is the New Republic was this struggling new entity trying to beat back the remnants of the Empire. That was a major threat in the books. So that's not new.
I do sometimes wonder though if like. I sense meta going on, and I kind of hope that's what might be going on. Where with Last Jedi, Rian Johnson, I kept on feeling like this meta of like we got these sad stories of like how they hate the rich and they can't stand what they're seeing and want to punch through this entire town, and that all of Star Wars is based off of making money off of spaceships like toys, and then they have a Holdo like leader who makes no sense and says vapid speeches, and then now we have the New Republic, which could be Disney, which we won the galaxy for you, Disney. You now have it. What do you do with it? And you have a bunch of like snobby rich people kind of like getting in the way and fucking things up for like the victory that they won. Is kind of what
I think
see.
that's really Kobe, stop it. The dog just will not stop barking.
Mhm.
I think that's a really generous interpretation. I think the whole idea is that like they want to keep that vibe that like it doesn't matter even if the power is the good guys. Our heroes are rebels. They always rebel against
Oh,
any kind of authority. Like that scene where like, you know, they're throwing a big parade on Lothal and they want to thank Sabine, but Sabine is such a
right.
rebel. She's got to like run away from it and like glide under a speeder.
And yeah, that makes sense. Like, because that's the obnoxious thing. Like, they think the Star Wars brand is rebel versus empire, no matter what.
Or rebel versus
And
authority, rebel
mhm.
versus any kind of thing, which is
Jedi
to me
versus
just like
Sith. Yeah.
But you
felt
can't
like
say Sith
so
or Jedi.
forced.
Well,
You know, I just like cringed the like, you know, oh yeah, she this girl doesn't listen to anyone.
Oh God, I hated that. Like, all these people spent so much time and effort putting this stuff together, and I'm just too cool for this. Like, okay, all right, asshole. But
Don't you want to like go get free food and have people like sing your praises at the? I don't know. It seems like a fun thing to go to.
yeah, make some connections, help more people. But no, you gotta get rock and roll on your motorcycle. And anyway, what's the MJ? What's the second part that we should be of our format?
I was just speculating on where they're going to possibly go with the story from here, which I kind of which I kind of dipped into before. Because, I mean, they did set up a lot in that finale about how they're going to continue everything. Like, what's Balin going to do on Paradio? How are Ahsoka and Sabine and Yang ever going to get back to the main galaxy? Is Ezra going to end up training Jason on how to become a Jedi? And is Hera going to accept that? Is Thrawn going to lead the Shadow Council to start undermining the New Republic and start the comeback of the Empire? Or is it going to break down and the whole big climax of this whole thing is going to be defeating Thrawn, but what he started is going to lead to the First Order and all this stuff? And it's like, when are they going to have a chance to tell this story? You don't know if there's going to be an Ahsoka season 2. You don't know when Filoni's going to be able to tell any of the rest of this, or if he's even going to get his feature-length movie that's been announced.
Right.
You just don't know, because everything's so nebulous in the Star Wars world right now that you don't know what's actually going to happen.
Might I suggest we, not to undermine the point, but might I suggest we talk about what we think should happen with what we have so
Go for
far?
it. Yep, go for it.
All right. We can do both. What do you think will happen? What should happen? Kid Mystery, do you have an idea of something that could make you ever want to watch Star Wars again?
I mean, you know, a Dave Filoni movie with Luke Skywalker fighting Thrawn, a kind of adaptation, but with extended universe characters from the new generation and side spin-off stories. That might be nice. I might give that a watch.
Mm-hmm.
But
bring in Mara Jade and Talon Card and all those.
More just like using, because Mara Jade isn't really unless they, if they establish Mara Jade, that would be interesting. That'd be bold of Disney and probably better, but no, I don't think they'll do that. I think they're just going to stick with like what their Disney stuff, be like a Endgame kind of a like story. But what I really want from that movie is just like Luke Skywalker, he's the lead, he's fighting Thrawn, and he gets to meet all these extended universe characters like Mando, Ahsoka, the Rebels cast. And heck, maybe if you can really stretch, you can find some other obscure Disney Star Wars verse characters to add in there, and have this big final battle against Thrawn. And then, because Disney has to put in the sequels, have a little teaser with the First Order, and then I guess I don't know, but I mean, I'd watch that as long as
oh yeah,
as long as Luke Skywalker is kind of like there and fighting Thrawn, and he gets to meet all these people we've been establishing.
No, he's too busy killing his nephews on his Jedi Academy.
Yeah.
This is just eyeing his. I know. I can't fucking wait.
Well, you guys heard that they're going to introduce Hondo potentially in live action in Skeleton Crew, right?
Skeleton Crew live action?
I believe it.
When is that supposed to come out?
Next year. That's that, and what the hell's the other one? The Acolyte. There's supposedly both those series are still happening, but it sounds like Skeleton Crew is pretty
I
much
just
in
want
post production, ready to go. But yeah, Hondo. It's rumored Hondo is going to show up in there, and take a wild guess who they might have cast as Hondo.
No clue.
There's rumor that Jaleel White was cast to play Hondo.
Oh Jesus!
Urkel himself.
I don't believe it. That sounds like troll casting.
I know.
But hey, before we go, let's keep on topic.
Yeah.
Isaac. Yeah, sorry. Kid.
I just want to say, thank God that Taika Waititi's Droid series is not happening. Oh my God, that would have been awful.
Oof. Yeah, we don't need that one. We don't need that. Isaac,
Taika Waititi
what
really
thoughts
just needs to be. What would I like to see? It's really hard, just because like Star Wars is in such a goddamn mess right now.
More like, what do you think's going to happen? What would you like to see happen?
What I would like to see happen is just no more jutting around. Just get the Filoni movie. Do it as either like a movie or TV special. That's like maybe 3 episodes or 3 hours long. As like the big grand finale of the Mandoverse versus Thrawn. Just have it a go for broke special of just like everyone teaming up, or maybe Din Djarin leads the Resistance. Put that chapter in, and then do something. Go to some time period where you have freedom to insert some new characters, so you're not like treading on this baggage anymore. And then maybe like try and do the Mando formula right, where it's just like maybe kind of like a Mad Max figure who gets into like bigger adventures and then goes off through the universe, versus the dad-ing of Mando. That's what I would like to see. What I think is going to happen is I think Matthew Vaughn, I'm sure you've heard about this crazy rumor where he said just reboot Star Wars, just retell it.
Ooh.
That elicited quite the gasp at the New York Comic Con when I saw his panel. Everyone's like, reboot Star Wars. Ooh.
Yeah, I hate that idea so much.
It's such a bold thing. Was that when he unveiled it, where he said it at New York Comic Con, or I thought it was in an interview?
I'm pretty sure. Oh
no, that was, he kind of just was repeating talking points. He's out there promoting Argyle right now, and he's just like, hey, could you bring up potentially rebooting Star Wars? Yeah, that'd be fun. Let's really set some fires. So yeah, because he knows just as much as everybody else. There's no way in hell anybody's gonna be allowed to reboot Star Wars in our lifetimes.
He was my top choice. Like he was in the running with J.J. Abrams, and I forget who else. It was J.J. Abrams and Vaughn. They're the top choices of the director to lead the new trilogy. And I was like, Vaughn! J.J. Abrams, well, he can't even fuck this up. But here we are.
Did we find out?
All right. More of the future talk.
So I think what's going to happen is I think they're going to push out everything that's in production, and I think they're going to take a big fucking pause and reassess it. I feel like there's a turning point in the culture where this thing is not sustainable. It's possible to include all these values, but the stories that have been told have not been well enough to sort of justify it. It feels like the South Park was like the most mainstreamification, because like before you could just like dismiss the critical drinkers and doomcocks of the world as just like fringe and make fun of them on She-Hulk. Despite their growing prevalence. But when you have like, big wigs on the most public, taking internet talk about Kathleen Kennedy and then exposing it on the biggest stage possible, and then just blowing it up throughout people across the world. I don't think the current practices are sustainable. I'm curious, is Kathleen Kennedy still in there? Like, there are always the rumors that she was going to get fired, but she's still hanging in there. So I'm wondering what the hell's going on behind the scenes at Lucasfilm and Star Wars.
As far as anybody knows, she's in the middle of that extension she signed a couple of years ago, and there hasn't been any news, positive or negative, whether or not that's changing. So
From what
I
I've
have to
seen-
imagine that the beating Lucasfilm took the last 12 months between the Willow series face planting, the new Indiana Jones face planting, the viewership declining sharply on every Disney Plus Star Wars series. It's not looking pretty for her. Her portfolio's pretty much shot at this point. But I haven't heard anything about. Nobody's heard anything about Iger saying hit the road. So it's his call ultimately.
I guess the best thing they could I guess Andor's like supposedly in the can. The Skeleton Crew's supposedly in the can. I'm gonna assume the Acolyte is very far along. I guess they'll put those out just to like have them done. But like I do not see how you'd like greenlight another season of Ahsoka. Did it get the kind of numbers needed?
From what I hear, Ahsoka season 2 has been greenlit.
Oh,
Okay, maybe I'm incredibly wrong.
I can see it happening. Like, usually it happens if, like, if you make a TV show, season 2 seems to be assured because they spent all this money building all these things to do it in the first place. That like they'd be a loss to not do at least 2 more seasons. Is what I usually see happen. But
Well, I know with like streaming shows, like a lot, especially when they're like big properties, they're already pre-built with like, we're getting a second season of that Halo show one way or another. Even though,
ew.
yeah, it's so rumored, but I can see it happening. And like, so what another thing I see is like the tactic that CBS Star Trek has been trying to do. So like they lay out all these things of like what they're going to do to try to lock in their jobs, and like investors see it and they're like, oh well, I guess this is what's happening. So like with CBS Star Trek, they said, oh, we got this show and we got Sector 31 and we got this and this, and like you tie up all this money and like all these projects that you can't easily lose yourself from it. So I think that's why they have all these things laid out, even though who knows if we'll get there. Because to get to the Dave Filoni Ahsoka Mandoverse movie, Ahsoka and Mandoverse needed to do well, which they ended up not. But can I jump into future thoughts?
Yeah, let's segue into that. Yeah.
All right. What I think is what I think they're going to be doing is I feel like after Alkalite, we're gonna see kind of like a little bit of a blackout. Like we have now hit the final point of like losing money, where I don't think we can say it's just a fluke anymore. And I think what we saw was Jan Favreau and Dave Filoni giving Kathleen Kennedy exactly what she asked for and letting it take. Because like I saw Mandoverse, it did everything to make it a chick. They all things turned toward that. So what I see for the future of Ahsoka is one more season, but I'm going to suspect that we'll feel a feeling change where the rules of make only females look the coolest, not the males. I think we're going to see what we're seeing in Loki, where that's what they were doing Loki season 1. The female characters were over the men. Now in Loki season 2, the characters are just acting together and they're working through a story. And like we had seen, like I believe that came after like a lot of failures from Marvel. So I think we're gonna see it. I think we're going to see a tone shift.
I don't know if I
Alpha.
would call Loki season 2 a success. I don't know. I don't want to go too much into it because we still want to keep it Star Wars.
Yeah.
But I have a very different take on Loki season 2. But I mean, you're right. It is more character focused.
Right.
In the most recent episode I watched just before it, it's like, I want to save my friend. And it's like, who the fuck are your friends? Owen Wilson, who you have like a semi-working relationship. What's the name of the kind of more heavyset black woman who's like Hunter 55?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Are you buddies with her? Like it doesn't feel like you have an especially big attachment to any of these fucking characters. But whatever. That's here from there.
Meta modernism, I think, is what we're like what we want, and like a lot of people are critiquing is like the difference between modernism and meta modernism. Modernism says like everything in that story, like OG Star Wars. OG Star Wars is not trying to be Luke Skywalker. It's not trying to be Star Wars. It's a world where things work. But now, the people who are on set are all friends, and that's what we're seeing. And like, I don't know how you stop metamodernism. Like most viewers seem to be falling into it, not noticing it's happening. So you get this weirdness that keeps happening, such as like with Ahsoka. Like they're trying to meta what everybody already knows about Star Wars instead of doing what would make sense. So
Well,
yeah.
the other thing I was kind of curious to ask you guys, what did you think of Ezra's, Space Aladdin's depiction in live action?
Space
Did
Aladdin. Oh my god.
Did they do him justice, or
No.
I feel like he did him justice.
No.
Eh,
Well,
they didn't have him on screen. They didn't have him on screen enough. They didn't do enough with him when he was on screen. I mean,
let me jump in on this one real quick. I'm sorry, I'm cutting in on people. I apologize. But
it's
Ezra,
your show, dude. Do it.
Thank you. Ezra. Oh my, it's more of like the gender stuff again, like where we could have had like the amazing grand question of what does Ezra do like in another galaxy for 10 years, and like he's very capable. He could have stolen a ship. Maybe he's made his own resistance. Maybe there's a small battle. Anything.
That
But,
does
like,
not sound like Ezra, though. Like, make his own resistance?
against Thrawn in another galaxy. If there was more things going
some
on.
turtles.
If you wrote
he
like
was the king of the Turtle Club.
You can write anything going on in other galaxy, but instead, for 10 years, Ezra chilled out. And
Well,
that was it.
I felt like that was because he didn't think anyone would go back for him. Is my reasoning. Like his whole sacrifice was meant to be that's it. I'm in another galaxy. Thrawn can't get out. So I felt like it was kind of logic.
Yeah, it can be written that way, where like that his story has ended after the defeat of Thrawn. You can leave it at that. But now that we've continued the story, you can write anything and make meaning for like his growth in another galaxy. They just try, such as like we got that for all the other female characters. Like, and for the last 10 years, looks like a true story has happened between Ahsoka and Sabine that we didn't get to see, and they get to have fun with their character growth and new ships and whatnot. Versus Ezra, who's been just sitting in the same place for like 10 years, and like
Yeah, that didn't make any sense to me because they basically made it seem like he was hiding with the Na'ti in their little roving band of wagons there.
they didn't try.
And it's like the entire reason that he disappeared with Thrawn at the end of Rebels was to keep Thrawn away from the Prime Galaxy and to stop Thrawn in any way possible. You would think for those 10 years he'd been seeing what Thrawn was trying to do and trying to undermine Thrawn, resurrecting the Night Sisters, rebuilding the temple castle, whatever the hell that was for the Night Sisters, and just continually being a thorn in Thrawn's side. But it just seemed like he was hiding for those 10 years. Like, that's not Ezra at all.
Like they did whatever they could do to make sure that his story didn't overshadow Sabine and Hera, and that's nothing.
And you
when
know
they
what
eventually intersect again, yeah.
You know what the funniest part was, like when they had that big scene where Sabine and Ezra were just like hanging out and talking. It was like the most forced, like like a guy and a girl talking, awkwardly at like a school lunch. Hey, thanks for coming to me. See me? How you doing? Oh, how you get out here in space? No, it was just nothing. It was like one of the most stiff, forced conversations, considering how much time had passed.
For anybody who watched Rebels, that was just so stilted and atypical of both of the characters at that point. It's like, what the hell?
They're behaving as if as a teenager would think a cool person would act like.
For like Sabine to make like such a big choice, you think she'd have like some romantic feelings, or it'd be like the great platonic love of her life. And she's like, "Hey, how's it going? Thanks for crossing the interdimensional barrier after 10 years and thinking about me."
Well, even within the logic of the season, I mean, Skull managed to use her need to find Ezra to leverage her to give him the map, finish getting the coordinates so they could jump to Paradia, and they jumped across the galaxy, and she helped to pave the way for Thrawn to come back, and it's like, oh, hey, it's you, Ezra. Good to see you.
Yeah, I'm willing to go much harder on this. Like, if we're gonna be not meta modern about this and do what would happen in a book, mid-season we should have had this gasp reveal of Ahsoka killing Sabine. I'm sorry, Sabine. You've now punched your own ticket. You should be killed for this. You selfishly stepped up and let one of the most dangerous people in the universe come back to kill millions of people, and you're not even remorseful of it. You're giggling.
But she learned forgiveness from Anakin, because if Anakin could come back from the dark.
Yeah, if you ask for forgiveness, she's like, Sabine's like, I'll do it again. Like, she doesn't care. She sees nothing, and then like, she's being enabled by Ahsoka going, well, I'm sure everything is. No, it's not cool. No, you can't.
Keith, remember, Sabine survived having a lightsaber run all the way through her. Her inside should have been boiled out through her nose, but she survived. She can survive anything.
But yeah, if this is Battlestar Galactica, we would have a sad scene of Sabine coming to terms with what she did, and Ahsoka knowing what she has to do.
Keith, this sounds
and Sabine being airlocked. Yeah.
Sorry, Keith, what was that?
Keith, this sounds very much like your what is it called? Your morally good paladin side showing.
People keep saying that. But I mean, like, there are certain standards and rules. Like, you can't just do whatever you want and just let people get killed and say, oh well, no, it's not cool.
That's what drove me insane, was that ending where it's like, Sabine and Ahsoka are like looking really content. It's like, hey, we can be alone and do all our fun stuff together, even though the galaxy's in peril. Then Anakin's looking on in approval, like, you did well. You're continuing my great legacy.
Ezra's like, I gave up my life. Oh my God, you just undid 10 years of sacrificing my life, Sabine. And you're smiling at me. Like, I mean, this could have kicked off an amazing story. Because, like, I can see Sabine legitimately could have been driven crazy. Because, yeah, she got, after everything, she fought so hard. Sabine was one of my favorite characters in Star Wars of all time. I've had 2 different action figures of her. So I'm a fan. But, yeah, if you're going to push her this far, kill off her planet and her family, yeah, I can see her. She's failed a Jedi test. Like, this is a Jedi, if you're faced with this test of, like, selfishness or giving up something of yourself for everyone else, that's how you pass it. But she literally didn't pass. You chose the wrong option. You chose evil, and now you also have Jedi powers. I think we might have to kill you, Sabine.
But that's why Ahsoka was afraid of why Sabine was trying to become a Jedi, because Sabine wanted to go back to Mandalore and save her family from the Night of 1,000 Tears, but Ahsoka stopped her. And
that's confirming twice that she is too dangerous.
Right.
We're still like, oh, Sabine, you're just so silly. Like, no.
Well,
Sabine,
can I make a big tweak? Can I pitch a tweak to this series? Please. That I think would have made just imagine if they had the balls to actually keep Ahsoka and Din Djarin and Baby Yoda Grogu away, and then Ahsoka was training Grogu, whatchamacallit, Luke has to do some, I have to go on a mission, and then Ahsoka takes care of Grogu. That would have been like a better master apprentice. Like, how cool would that have been? Like a talking Grogu who actually has like the the capabilities of, like, I don't know, an 8-year-old child.
But on the WWF roster, Grogu does not have the sex appeal of a Sabine, and we gotta bring that demographic to the ring. Okay, you can't have it's
okay. Easy there, Triple H. Jeez.
It's not a story. It's pro wrestling.
So would you say that, like, a Sabine is like who's that Japanese wrestler that they love so much? Asuka?
Absolutely not, because Asuka is cool. Oh, I'm sorry, they ruined Sabine for me. Like, now that you got me talking about it, I've been like kind of quiet on this and it's kind of like silently simmering.
Well, it was originally you were very positive when we first saw the first 2 episodes. I'm surprised, like, especially since you like Sabine and Rebels so much.
That's why, like, I was clapping because, like, oh my God, I got my characters back. But then, like, we get Kathleen Kennedy violation of characters to force them into certain genders are more than others, and then that makes them do immoral acts that children shouldn't be taught, and that should create great stories that confront. But no one notices that bad things are being done. Rey, who's falling in love with a genocidal killer. Oh yeah,
And that's one of the
Disney
biggest failings of this first season of Ahsoka is a lot of the narrative payoffs that they have towards the end of the first season weren't earned. I mean, like the whole Ahsoka training Sabine before to be a Jedi, that wasn't set up at all. They didn't even have a flashback to help establish that and actually get anybody emotionally invested. Why Sabine is the way she is, because the Sabine in this season of Ahsoka is not the same Sabine that we saw through 4 seasons of Rebels. Even if we were to assume a natural maturation for over a period of 10 years from the end of Rebels to the beginning of Ahsoka, they had to do better narrative setup for a lot of the payoffs they had towards the end of the season, but they didn't do that. They were just like, no, just keep atmospheric, have Ahsoka cross her arms a bunch of times. That'll cover it up. Yeah. That'll take care of it. Oh, and let's have the big nostalgia bomb right in the middle of the season with Hayden coming back as Anakin and all the nods to all the various portions of the franchise before then.
But let's take away from Luke by making Anakin far more concerned with his apprentice than his own son. Ugh. God, just...
Well, he is a Force ghost at that point. He's a little more omniscient, so he can... probably has plenty of time to take care of both.
It's so gross. It's so gross.
That would be really interesting, though. I'm sure people would love like a scene with Hayden Christensen, Anakin talking to Luke.
Yeah, like I said, like the Luke having to follow fear his father's legacy. He's looking at the Star Destroyer full of genocidal stormtrooper and ex-Imperials, and they're now defenseless. But it is for the greater good if he clenches his fist and destroys the Star Destroyer. And then, Anakin appears, don't do it, son. Like, real lessons that make sense. Versus, live or die, Ahsoka. I think I shall live.
I choose to live.
It sounds like you wanted the Luke Skywalker show instead of the Ahsoka show.
I think that if they wanted to make the Ahsoka show, they should have made Ahsoka's story instead of doing what should have been for Luke.
I mean,
and once again, taking away from him.
I mean, really.
Here's a question. Oh, I'm kind of curious to ask you, Keith. Like, based on like what you know, let's say, all right, Dave Filoni and Kathleen Kennedy have asked you to give your pitch for what you'd like to see the Ahsoka show. What would you have done with it, excluding any of the stuff we saw here? What would your vision of the Ahsoka show based on like the end of Rebels?
Damn, I apologize.
You still have to use the material from Boba Fett and whatchamacallit, Mandalorian. Yeah.
Oh goodness. I need far more time to do that kind of a story. But let's say if I'm going to do it wrong and just go really quickly and say that, it should have been Indiana Jones. They did exactly that. It starts as an Indiana Jones adventure with Ahsoka, which they actually did. And then that adventure should be getting the band back together, or maybe getting back to the base that we have. I don't know. That's a tough one. But I mean, like, you saying this shows exactly why they did it. Like, what else are you going to do? Like, right now, we have everything lined up, and we can't use Luke. We have to go for some Timothy Zahn Thrawn in this era. And
it is weird how they're like treating the expanded universe, how like the MCU treats the comics, like, because the MCU like doesn't really adapt comic books anymore. It just takes like it'll take a character, it'll take a broad idea, and then like use it as inspiration, and then transform it to like fit its own needs and narrative. And that's what it feels like Star Wars is kind of done with. Like, we won't acknowledge the extended universe, but we'll take some of the ideas that like were really popular, like Thrawn, and kind of like use them in the Disney extended Marvel Star Wars universe.
Oh yeah, they've been cherry picking all along. That's one of their main edicts. Unfortunately, when they cherry picked, they brought us Admiral Dadbod. Ooh. Thank you so much for that.
Damn, like, you got enough money to make his suit look nice. You didn't even try.
It doesn't help that they weren't able to cast the right Mikkelsen, but I like Lars, but he's not his brother Mads. Mads Mikkelsen is still my dream casting for Thrawn, but
on the meta side, it makes complete sense. Like, the same reason why they got Timur for Boba Fett. Like they love that person, and they feel that he deserves to be his.
Wait, why do
Also,
they love
he was
that?
part
Why
of
do
it
they love him? Isn't this his
because
first time in Star Wars? Or did he
no,
voice
I
him in
think
the?
He
yeah,
was
he
in
voiced
Attack of the
him.
Clones. He was Jango Fett.
Oh no,
At
I
first,
know that. I'm talking about Thrawn, the guy who played Thrawn. Like,
Oh,
yeah.
he
That actor is the
Lars
voice actor
Mikkelsen
for.
was the voice of Thrawn in Rebels season 4.
Yep.
oh, okay, all right. So,
So
yeah, I didn't realize that.
it'd be disrespectful to choose somebody else, even though somebody else would have been better cast.
On a side
But
note,
yeah.
why didn't they cast the original voice actor for Ahsoka instead of Rosie
Because
O'Donnell?
Ashley Eckstein. That
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
Rosie
still a little
O'Donnell,
salty about that, but
because Rosie O'Donnell's a far more marketable name that they think will draw people. Like she's an actual big star. And they think that in this pro wrestling ring, you need a big star to draw people, and it did not. It didn't work.
so good on them
Yeah.
for the inadvertent Barbie tie-in by casting young Arya Greenblatt to play younger Ahsoka.
But that's another thing. Barbie. I think
Yeah,
I want this. I think this is gonna be a lesson really quickly that like, so they took Star Wars and they tried to make it for young girls. They took something and tried to make it for a demographic it's not meant for. When you could have just made it for the demographic. Well, let me finish. Let me finish. But you can make it for demographics it's meant for, and girls still loved it too. Then, and when you have Barbie now, you don't try to make it so you don't try to action it up so you get the boys too and make it for boys. Instead, you make it for the demographic it's meant for. It made all the money in the universe. So I'm saying that like boys and girls like Star Wars the way it was. If they go back to that, they can start building up again.
Well,
Now, do you
that's
disagree?
really interesting because, like, I wonder what the lessons Hollywood's going to learn from Barbie because, like, Barbie shows if you make something unapologetically girly, that you can have like a 4-quadrant hit. But by the same token, though, I don't think the Lena Dunham Polly Pocket movie is going to like quite hit the same way. I think there is a lesson that we're like if you just make something that's big budget and creative and musical and unapologetically girly, you can create like a woman's MCU versus
Even
like
like
turning the
I-
MCU
My
or
Little
Star
Pony.
Wars.
My Little Pony was not marketed for boys, but they aimed for what they were trying to do and made a good product that everybody ended up loving.
I have to debate Barbie being overtly girly. It was overtly meta. I mean, it was one
it
steaming pile of meta.
was it
That's
overtly for specific? I mean, how much did they play to the audience it's meant for versus
They
anyone else?
play pretty hard. I mean, like the whole like Barbie Malibu Dream House and the
That's what I mean.
like in the neon pink. It was unapologetically girly. It was the
Yep.
Barbie core to the extreme.
that's where the meta overrode that because that's why they knew the product that they were playing around with because Barbie originally was intended to be super girly, and they kind of built off that and what it became as a cultural phenomenon, and kind of played off that. I mean, that's why I'm saying that the whole movie was just meta upon meta upon meta, and that's why it did have such wide-ranging appeal, and that's why so many people did find something to find funny about it. I mean, there was even a Snyderverse joke in there for crying out loud.
But
I'd like to
was
see how
it
that's
not
going to
to
age.
make fun of the Snyderverse fans, right? And that they love or something?
The Snyder Bros specifically, yes.
Exactly. So like, yeah, they're playing to exactly the audience that like hates Snyderverse people. Like,
Yeah, and
like so, like
there was something
like,
for everyone in that movie, and that's why it did end up being the biggest box office hit of the year. I mean, the two movies that hit big at the box office this year were Barbie and Super Mario Brothers. Two properties that were based on generations that grew up with it as kids and all the way up through adulthood. I mean,
they didn't try to make them into things they're not. Is the main thing that I'm going for. And it's versus like the Forces of Destiny. Like what anybody was like, man, I can't wait to get more Star Wars so that it can look like this. Versus Kathleen Kennedy, who thinks that Star Wars is just an IP, and all you have to do is make it look like the thing for the demographic you want. Then you should earn all the money, right? Versus just doing it like girls used to like it was. Anyway, yeah, that's all I'm saying. Like they've been twisting it politically too much versus giving us the heart and like letting boys and girls and anybody to just to love it is the problem they're going to.
Generally giving a shit. Yeah.
I'm not okay. I'm not sure like how we got on this topic and if we need to get back on track.
Right, yeah.
Wait, but like one little side thought before we get back on track, though, just to finish that thought out. Let's say we get in the next 3-4 years, we get like Polly Pocket, all these unapologetically 4-quadrant girl movies that are like mega successful as Star Wars and the MCU.
Mhm.
Do you think that would like lessen the pressure to like keep on putting chicks in Star Wars in the Marvel universe?
Oh wow, maybe. I was gonna
Whatever
say
makes
no.
the money will keep it going.
Exactly.
What doesn't make the money will get cut out.
But like yeah, what might happen is like they might just think that, oh, everybody just wants girly things now, and then like just keep doing that. Versus what I hope happens is that they do that, and therefore that audience gets satisfied, and they stop caring so much about things meant for boys, so that you can just make it normal again. Like I said, like Loki is now no longer female superior. We now have good female characters and male characters just being in story together. That's how Star Wars was in the first place, and that's why it brought us all together. And we just gotta get away from the weird politics that they've been forcing in here, and just let Star Wars grow beyond the pro wrestling and like only one gender matters that's been in for the last 10 years almost.
Well, here's the $1 million question. Can they do that with Kathleen Kennedy still at the helm?
No,
or is
they
this
cannot.
going to definitely cost her job if they decide that that's what needs to be done?
She has got to go. She and like all, because like the main thing I saw, the biggest problem that Kathleen Kennedy created was that, and it's from a good place. Like we saw several times at the start of her creation, is like she doesn't care about making good Star Wars. She cares about making good Star Wars with women. So like she's like, I keep getting all these calls from men who want to work with me, who might be the best at the job because they genuinely care. But she will go for she's like, no, I want to give. She's trying to give jobs to women, which that's a good thing. You're supposed to help other people and lift other people. But through that focus, we only started getting people who didn't care about Star Wars. It was about gender politics instead. So
Wait,
yeah,
how many?
yeah.
But can I ask how many? You say that Kathleen Kennedy's giving like more women to jobs to direct and write these, but can I ask like
Or
what the specific statistics on men versus women are writing new Star Wars shows and directing new Star Wars shows / movies?
have not taken that down at all yet.
That would be a really interesting statistic. My guess is I think it's still probably like maybe 70 to 60% male, but I feel like more women that have been, when Star Wars was kind of like a boys' club.
When it comes to executive producers and writers and whatnot, and like the story group, I have been seeing, and like once again, I'm liberal. I just want equality. I don't want superior on either side. But yeah, like when you see like her story group pictures and whatnot, it's mostly women, and so it's not necessarily like the best writers who give a shit about Star Wars. And then like I think it has created like this childish back and forth that's been happening at Lucasfilm that we've been seeing on screen, like in ways that like I always thought we were done with as children on like boys versus girls. As adults, we should be, but we're seeing it on screen.
It's not just the the how do I put this? Okay, it's not just the gender politics. It's also the latent ageism that they keep throwing into it. Because
for the
if
males.
Lucasfilm wants to pull out of their nosedive, stop shitting on the legacy characters. Stop making all of them depressed, broken down, hating themselves, hating their lives, and just having the new characters. Oh, they're a legend. We should probably dig them up. Nothing will survive without them. Like, actually give a damn about the legacy characters if you're going to include them or don't.
Okay,
Stop
real quickly,
shitting on them, please.
What's the third thing? What's our third thing that we of our
It was
new
the general state of Star Wars, and that's what we've been kind of doing for the last 20, 30 minutes. So,
all right, cool. General state of Star Wars. The general state of Star Wars is that I feel like I'm seeing the ending of the Kathleen Kennedy era. Like
that movie's gonna hit any minute.
Oh yeah. I know. Like I've been watching those videos for years, and I always like scowled every time I saw it. I was like, damn, it ain't stopping, not yet. But like now we're hitting like some like really brutal numbers that I don't think they can ignore. And it's across like the fandom. Like they can't hide behind like only sexists don't like us. Like we're seeing like the Rise of Skywalker was beautiful to me. I'll still enjoy Rise of Skywalker because that was the first time that like they didn't blame the fans for it sucking. Like even Rise of Skywalker itself, you could tell said, no, we suck. This is not sexism on your part. You guys are right. We just suck.
And somehow Palpatine returned.
Mm-hmm. And now like we're not seeing that fight as much.
Lives in infamy.
The fight of like telling people that it's not the movies, it's the fans has faded. So like there's nowhere else to run. Is why I think things are going to be turning pretty soon.
It'd be nice to see them top to bottom finally take responsibility for what they have done and start trying to heal what they have done. But I don't know how they go forward from here. I mean,
I'll say the South Park episode was toothless. I want to love it more than I did, but it's on Paramount Plus, which no one has, and general people don't know the hell Kathleen Kennedy is, so they're just going to be confused when they see it. The
only reason anybody has Paramount Plus for Star Trek, so yeah, they don't know who Kathleen Kennedy is.
Yep, and the only thing that episode did was just make the YouTubers happy. That's it.
The chuds mainly, yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's funny though because it was also designed to make fun of the chud. Although it felt like it went
exactly,
more which lets Kathleen Kennedy off. It totally left Kathleen Kennedy off the hook. It's like it's not her. It's this fantasy version of her. Which, if you look deeper at it, then that should be a bigger insult to Kathleen Kennedy. And then, it made like all of like the bad stuff that she does only bad through Cartman. So like so they're playing both sides so that they can like have the chuds think that they got a victory, and then like the shills can be like like you didn't see it, you don't get the joke is on you because you're Cartman. Like okay, I get it.
So it's sort of like I mean, I enjoyed it. I could understand why you thought it was like toothless. It didn't quite. It kind of used Kathleen Kennedy as a surrogate for like all of like Disney and progressive filmmaking, even though she's only like one smaller part of the equation. But I think they just picked her just because she's like the one that people bitch about the most online. So of course, it's
and just to find out that it was the Kathleen Kennedy from Earth 622 that's been screwing everything up, when we need the Kathleen Kennedy from Earth 717 to come back.
Which I mean, like, it does make sense because, like, I had that one conversation with a friend who has ear in the industry because, like, we had coffee. I was like, it was right. I think it was like after the Force Awakens. Even I was like, what the hell happened? Because Kathleen Kennedy's record up to that point is one of the greatest of all time. So, like, it did.
What did your friend say?
Oh, he said like, He smiled pleasantly. He was like, "Ah, look at you. You don't understand. That's not her job, Keith. She was never a creator. She's not a science fiction writer. You like George Lucas. Her job is that the reason why she's been so popular and even great at her job is that, like, a crazy person like George Lucas says, I need a spaceship and aliens and blah, 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 blah. And, like, she says, all right, crazy person, I'll make that happen for you. And she's, like, responsible enough to be able to pull all the money together and get all the business on the back end, so that Steven Spielberg can say, I want a guy who's melting and exploding. And he can just focus on his craziness while she gets all of like the structure to make it all happen. And that's my
Kathleen Kennedy camp. Any of you here seen the documentary series, The Movies That Made Us?
No, not yet.
No.
Yeah.
It's not. I wouldn't call it must view viewing, but it's like it's really pleasant background noise if you're cooking, cleaning, or whatever. Just have it on in the background or eating something. They're basically kind of like surface level documentaries about famous movies, and they give you like the production background behind them. And they did an episode on Jurassic Park, and they talked about how like Kathleen Kennedy orchestrated. They were about to be rained out in Hawaii, but they also needed to shoot in L.A. And Kathleen Kennedy did this like really difficult logistical planning and got that to work out. So it was like an interesting like look at her like a bigger strengths. So I would recommend watching that episode to see that what Kathleen Kennedy's talents may be versus being a creative person.
Yep. Yeah. He's like, like she really is one of the best of all time. But she doesn't know fuck a TIE fighter is, Keith. Like she doesn't give a shit. Like she grew up like beyond that even, which it would make sense. Like she grew up a normal person's life of like regular people's interests and like making money and understanding demographics and whatnot. It was us that grew up underneath the religion of respecting Star Wars and stories and storytelling, but for her, she's like, put a chick in it, and not because I'm cruel, but because like she's grew up in a world women struggle, and she's trying to help. I don't give a fuck.
Keith,
What
you have to say that correctly. It's put a chick in it, make it lame.
make it lame.
Make it lame.
But yeah,
Oh my
like
God.
she's from her point of view, she's like in a backed into a corner of I'm just trying to help people. I don't care how fast a Star Destroyer goes. I'm just trying to help people, and we get our bullshit and lots of people arguing with each other as a result. But
Well,
like,
yeah, I mean,
she's
she
good at it, but she's not-
co-founded Amblin Entertainment with Steven Spielberg. I mean, she is one of the uber producers that produced our childhoods.
Yep,
So,
she's not a creator though. She's just not a
Right.
creator.
yeah.
And yeah,
Please, if it makes you feel better, the younger generation, my generation, also feels this dissonance with Star Wars.
that does make me feel much better. Because like
Yeah, I
watching
mean-
it happen, you could tell they're trying to rewrite history. Like they laid down so much of like, just so you know, our stuff is the stuff that matters, and like we will make it so that when you look back on who defeated the Emperor, you look on my stuff, and it's like, ugh.
One thing that I was really surprised, like, because like Kid Mystery, you kind of grew up with like the Clone Wars era of Star Wars, and I assume you have a decent amount of affection for that in the Rebels.
Clone Wars and Rebels, yes, that was kind of my generation kind of thing.
And the prequels.
Kind of. I mean, I watched the prequels as the same way I'd watched the original trilogy, just old movies that my mom would show me, and I liked them.
Okay.
And
But,
Kid Mystery is actually the kid who got me to appreciate the prequels by telling me like, because like I was still in my prequels suck, I will not forgive them, and you told me that no, we know they suck and love them anyway. So like,
Yeah.
it changed the game for me where like you appreciate art for even its flaws, versus like while I was like in the still like a beginning era of like Disney Star Wars where people ignored flaws and acted like they didn't happen, versus prequel fans are like, no, 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 we know, and that honest love just blossomed a love for it for me.
And that has
Man,
been
I
one
was-
positive. That has been sorry, just one quick. That has
Okay,
been one
finish your
positive.
thought.
Yeah, the one quick positive. That has been one positive aspect of Disney Star Wars has been the resurrection and appreciation tour for Hayden Christensen, and everybody apologizing to him for just
Yes.
beating the crap out of him for episodes 2 and 3, which none of those actors deserve for those movies. George Lucas wholly deserves to be beaten up for those. Because I mean, because I was having this discussion about 6 months ago with some guys from another group, and like, oh, Hayden Christensen's terrible. He's awful. I'm like, yeah, I kind of agree with you, but I keep hearing how he's great. So I finally decided to compare Hayden Christensen prequels and Hayden Christensen post. You watch the movie Life as a House, which was his big breakout role with Kevin Kline and all those. It was a really great movie. Christensen was fantastic in that movie. Then you watch Jumper, which was Christensen's first movie after the prequels.
I love
George
it.
Lucas ruined Hayden Christensen.
Cool. Yeah,
Because
so
the
Jumper was
actor you
good,
saw,
right?
the actor you saw in Life as a House, mature. He understood the role. He understood what he was supposed to be doing for the story. Just pitch perfect. You watch him in Jumper. He didn't give a shit. He didn't care. He was doing it for a paycheck. He didn't even understand. It seemed like he didn't understand what he was doing in the movie. And I know you like Jumper, so I'm
Yes.
sorry for this, Keith.
No,
but,
no, you might be right. I still like it.
But you
yeah.
watch it and you're like, Lucas ruined Hayden Christensen. All the Star Wars fans who hated the prequels ruined Hayden Christensen. So it's been great to see him trying to kind of get some love back after all these years of just being shit on for what Lucas did to him. So it's been great to see.
That was kind of like interesting, is like seeing like younger generations kind of ironically and unironically love the prequels and like kind of see it pervade meme culture. Now that's pod racing. Hello there. It's dry like sand. So it has become like ingrained in internet culture because of that, which is why I was so interested. Because on a surface level, like Kid Mystery, you should be like over the moon for this. Oh my God. The prequel era Snips is in live action in a $200 million budget movie. This should override it. I should be
They are trying to
Sabine,
get you. They're
Sabine.
specifically going for you, Kid Mystery. But how are they missing with you? What were they missing?
Well, I mean, I had like a discussion with some of my friends about like Star Wars and our favorite Star Wars and why most of Disney stuff sucks.
Mhm.
And the only thing I think we kind of liked was Andor, and that was about it. Like my friends thought like Ahsoka was kind of fine, but it did not really hit the mark. We just kind of felt like, oh, it's not very like it doesn't have good writing, and just it's just dreadfully boring, really.
And we even have an Ahsoka who has now actively, snickeringly admitted to torturing someone. Get information that happened. That was a little weird.
When did she admit to torturing someone?
To get the information from, I think, the witch lady. She joked with
Morgan?
Wayun. Yeah, I think so. She joked with Wayun like, "Oh, I can be convincing in non-Jedi ways." Wink, wink. Like it was. I fucking put her through pain until she talked. Like, okay, all right, good guys. We're the good guys.
Another thing I was kind of curious to ask you guys, what do you think of Hera? I can't believe we haven't even talked about Hera yet.
Another of my all-time favorite Star Wars characters. She's my favorite Star Wars pilot. I think she was okay. Like, I'm glad. Like, I was expecting more ruin, like they usually do, but like, I'll say they didn't do too much with her, so they couldn't ruin her. And I think that Kate Winslet did a fine job of not being like the usual Star Wars female character hyper smugness. She
wasn't smug, but she was so stiff and
no, I'm
like,
saying she wasn't.
Also had, like,
She
was like so stiff and like that. I guess that was my issue. Is that
compared to Ahsoka and Sabine? No. I thought Winstead did pretty well by Hera.
All right. So that's
actually is all right. Yeah, like there wasn't much for her to do. But yeah, I with all the love I have for Hera, and then like there are a couple animated Hera things under Disney that I've seen that make me not like what I saw. Like they're kind of ruining her and turning her into a Disney princess, like they do with everyone. And
but how do you like having C-3PO be Leia's surrogate to save Hera from getting strung up?
Definitely has to be Leia.
Cool, huh?
It has to be
Pretty
Leia.
cool.
It has to be
Another
Leia.
Nostalgia bit.
Not Luke. Luke's not. You can't have anything good from Luke.
Well, why would Luke be there? Wait, why would Luke be there instead of
Probably Leia does make more sense, but
yeah,
God, it was like the worst fan pandering. Like C-3PO, and he's with the word from
is Luke Skywalker general?
Like
no, I think he is.
No, General Solo. I think he might be a general because like it has been shown he was throughout the saga. He's been a leader of the Rebel Alliance.
He was never even a general in the original trilogy. He was just Commander Skywalker at one point. I think he was referred to, but I don't think he ever got to like general like Han did. Or I mean, I don't know if Leia was even a general until she became leader of the Resistance in the sequels.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
I would think that underneath the normal circumstances, the person who helped bring down the Empire and lead to victory would be a part of like the rebuilding efforts and giving a shit on hunting down Imperial remnants. Like, because of how they do Luke, we don't hear jack shit about him at all.
He's doing those Jedi stuff or something. Yeah.
He's setting himself up to fail.
And that's
he's setting himself up to fail for Last Jedi. Thanks, Disney. Thanks.
And that's what kind of bugs me, because you think Leia would be like lockstep with Hera, because they were both quite interested in suppressing any Imperial remnants that might still be lingering out there. So it wouldn't be Leia with a little favor to Hera, like, oh, here's a little get out jail free card for going off and doing whatever the hell you want. Leia, actually, you would think Leia and Hera would be like regularly meeting and talking of like, okay, I've heard stuff. This is a serious threat. We need to take care of this. But that's just thinking, I guess.
All right. Wrapping some things up. I think there's like what else I want to touch on? Oh, really quickly. Disney Star Wars loves wasting legacy sci-fi famous people. Aaron from
Claudia Black.
Yes. Aaron. She is one of the greatest actresses of all time, and she is hidden underneath cakes of makeup. Like you get the queen of Farscape on Star Wars, and you do nothing with her. They also got the big bear guy from Expanse. What was his name? He's like the big teddy bear killer man. Expanse.
Who was he in Ahsoka?
He was the golden masked stormtrooper.
Oh, he was Enoch.
Yeah.
Nice.
Expanse,
That's the other thing that bugged me was Enoch and Morocco. I would have hoped they would have done a little more with both of those, but
yeah.
Instead of Morocco just going on like a big green mist and Enoch just whatever.
You guys can see the browser I'm sharing, right?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, it's this guy right here. He is a huge deal in sci-fi now. He's an amazing actor, and they hit him as a 2-hit point ninja, and just
Well, James Bond was in The Force Awakens, but nobody really cared.
That's right.
So,
oof. But yeah, what waste of legacy great characters. And so yeah, okay. But look, do you want to close this up with final thoughts, or do you have anything else that we can touch on before we close up?
I'll say though those stormtrooper designs were pretty badass.
They were
Centurions.
Yeah. All the stuff that my friend is doing is fantastic. Which is sad. Like the costumes, the sets, that we talked about that T6 ship for Ahsoka, and why does the table go up and down? Because it's a dojo too. Just extravagant. Like if they had a story to go with the production design, like Star Wars would be some of the best we've ever seen for a long time.
Well, that's where that 100 million went. Just not the writing.
Yeah.
All right. Final thoughts.
Should we wrap this up?
Yep. Final thoughts. Kid Mystery. What are your final thoughts on Ahsoka season 1 and the state of Star Wars?
I'm sure Star Wars is going to continue chugging. Just unlike you, Keith, I wouldn't mind a reboot, honestly.
Ugh.
It would give us an excuse to actually have recast members and maybe make a story that isn't as a mess as in right now. And we can have a bunch of other stuff.
Can we talk about rebooting really quickly and why we shouldn't do it?
Keith, we're reaching the 2-hour mark. I have to be that guy.
I know. I'll be really fast. We already have a perfect beginning of the story. We don't need to do it again. What we need to do to reboot is, yes, get away from this, jump 300 years in the future, and then what you want is different but as significant. We don't need to do exactly Luke, Han, Leia again. We need to do 3 new characters they work well together, that go through an adventure together. Don't just leave Star Wars alone.
300 years, cyberpunk future, let's go.
Unless we do. So DC Universe is getting Elseworlds, and MCU, I think they're going to use Spotlight for it. So yes, for Star Wars, yes, I want another label that allows you to go any style you want, reboot as many times as you want, and go wild as you want. There's going to be there should be the main multiverse timeline, because I don't want the sequel trilogy to be official, but they should have that timeline they can do whatever they want with, but have a Spotlight label so that you can do hyper 80s Star Wars. Or yes, then you can do Matthew Vaughn redo of the original trilogy. But don't reset again and just redo. That's what I mean.
Well, I mean, if they do that, it's just probably going to become more popular than the original, because the original is becoming kind of, well, we've talked about the problems of what they're doing with it now. So if they theoretically did that, I think it could probably overshadow it.
That is fine. That's what you should be trying to do. Like MCU already did. MCU is Star Wars, and it overshadows Star Wars. They took the elements of Star Wars and they did it very well, and they ended up overshadowing. And yes, we should try to top the best. That's fine. Just stop trying to restart everything and negate the best.
Well, that's the thing with terms and canon and non-canon and all that. We can label it something else, but ultimately it's all fiction, really. Yep. And no matter what we talk about it, you can just see in your mind the original trilogy just being canon and prequels not even being canon. Or if you want, you can see only the Star Wars stuff being canon, or everything else is not canon.
Because
honestly, these labels don't really matter, or what the executives say.
This toy guru Scott Knight, he pointed out how There's an original author of Sherlock Holmes, and there's been tons of stories afterwards after that. You can consider them canon or not. It's up to you. Because yeah, it's just fiction and fun. You don't have to care.
What, you don't want to hear
Exactly.
the Arthur Conan Doyle commentary about the Benedict Cumberbatch Sherlock? Come on.
And I fucked up my legacy.
The
Yes, I would
Holmes.
love to do that. All right, MJ. Final thoughts of Ahsoka and the state of Star Wars.
Well, there's something that I wish a lot of franchises, including Star Wars, would stop doing, and that's the Paul Harvey syndrome. And what I mean by that, if in case anybody doesn't remember who Paul Harvey was, he was a syndicated radio broadcaster who was big over from like the 70s until about 2010 when he passed away. But the signature of his shows was he always let off a little 5-minute blurb about the story, and then he'd spend the rest of his 45 minutes of the program filling in all the details of what he talked about in those first 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That apparently is just the way all these modern franchises like to run nowadays. Star Wars, we had the original trilogy. Now here's all the shit that happened before. And they keep getting stuck in this cycle, and they will not move on. Now, granted, the one time they did try moving on was a train wreck. But
they tried to move on by resetting everything.
They moved on by making the sequel trilogy and
resetting everything.
Yeah,
they didn't move on. They just turned it back to again, Rebels versus Empire.
Well, yeah, that's when they realized the sequels are a bad idea. But to your point, Keith, they just need to just move on, jump ahead, have everything in the past actually be the past. Try to rebuild the brand that way and actually get a story that people can get invested in again. Because right now, all this constant retreading and filling in the gaps and tripping over previously seen canon, it's not helping them. It's just making things worse.
The ability to not be able to invest is because of locked in terrible futures. Like,
right.
That is the hugest thing. Like, because like, you know what, I would be a lot more forgiving of Ahsoka if this is like the very start of Disney Star Wars. If this was the very start of Disney Star Wars, where your brain could just blossom into all the things that Luke Skywalker could be doing and how this could all turn out, but like to the core fans, all you're like sitting down and go, and this leads to the Last Jedi. Oh, it doesn't really matter.
This leads to somehow Palpatine returned.
Yeah,
right, and that's the most depressing thing about it, is because the reason nobody likes the sequel trilogy is because it sucked. Sorry, it sucked. It was retread. It was stupid. It wasn't earned. It sucked.
It didn't
so
move
why are you trying to use the next
path?
5-6 years of content to justify your original 6-year mistake? Knock it off. Move on. So, as likely as they are to do that in our generation, I don't know. But
all right.
they can't keep doing what they're doing.
Isaac, final thoughts and the state of Star Wars.
Ahsoka is a very frustrating. I'd rate it better than The Mandalorian season 3. And I think there's some wonderful artistic flourishes, and it's fun to see elements that we never thought we would see in live action, like the world between worlds, the Centaurian stormtroopers, the Night Sisters. But it was ultimately too unfocused, too meandering, with not great performances from people who we know are capable of doing better, like Rosario Dawson. Which is like just a huge disappointment, because in my head I love the narrative of Dave Filoni, like this man ascending to George Lucas's throne after working as his apprentice for so long, and I was rooting for the series. I really wanted it to be more than the sum of its parts, but I'm sad that we kind of like fell into like the worst justifications of the Chudiverse. I guess the level of disappointment is so great that it forced Mahler to like stop the middle of whatever his 5-hour dissections of an MCU movie like Ant-Man and put out a 45-minute review just to like come up with 2 other episodes that use the World Between Worlds format better and more effectively than Ahsoka did with its moment with the World Between Worlds and the flashback with Anakin.
Yeah.
I think did you like the video, Keith?
Mahler's video?
Yeah.
Yes, of course. Glad to see him off the bench finally and making something outside of like Let's Plays. Um,
Keith,
yeah, yeah.
to end this podcast, I think we should end it on a meme I posted in general of the Discord.
I think I haven't finished my final thoughts and future. I think did I say it yet? Final thoughts. I got some
give your
final
final
thoughts.
thoughts, and then let's go to the meme.
Yes. All right. Let's see. My final thoughts. Ah, God, I had a good starting point and I forgot it. So I guess I will freestyle until it comes back to me. My final thoughts are that, yeah, please get rid of Kathleen Kennedy. Oh, is this? What I think I saw was like people are kind of like wondering like is Dave Filoni now on Kathleen Kennedy's side, because this felt like they got rid of Favreau and moved Filoni, and what I think is happening is like Kathleen Kennedy said, hey, do you want some real money and a real shot, and there's no way that Dave Filoni would ever say no, but she gave him all those rules that like you have to force this and this, so we got the crap. But like I think I saw goodness in there. I appreciate him trying, and he would have done what any of us would have done. Because like if I was given those rules and given a shot at making Star Wars, I'll make it as terrible as Kathleen Kennedy wants, and I'll be happy that I got a shot to make my Star Wars and put my characters on screen. So that's what I saw. Like him doing the best he could underneath the rules that he has, and it turning out to be like the forced convoluted garbage that we've been having, because we can't just get what would happen in Star Wars. We have to get what happens forced around the rules that Kathleen Kennedy creates and makes a very clunky product. So yeah, those are my final thoughts on Ahsoka. So Kid Mystery, final meme.
Yeah,
Check.
I posted it in general if you want to look at that real quick.
And bam. Tarkin.
Put it on. See if you can put it on screen. It's
I see it.
I think I see it. I think I got it. Or I'm doing it right. There's
you
Rebel
see it?
Scum. Thrawn. Get fucked, blast. Yeah, man. They gave Thrawn the freaking business, man. He is so much better than this, and that was horrible to see what they just crunched him down into being. Like, yeah.
Well,
That
let's just call him properly what he is coming out of the Ahsoka series. He's not Admiral Thrawn. He's Admiral Dadbod. Let's just
Ooh.
call him what he is.
Yeah.
No, I'm not Dadbod shaming. I'm
Nope.
destined for that as well. I get it.
I'm shaming the costume department, and
oh, shaming your friend? My gosh.
eye shifting. I mean, not you.
No, I mean, Thrawn is supposed to be a physically imposing character as well as an intellectually imposing character, and yeah, what we saw on screen was not imposing at all. It's just the guy who enjoyed a few too many naughty barbecues when he was stuck on Paradia.
Send 2 TIE fighters. Yes. 2 TIE fighters will take out a Jedi. I'm so smart. Like, yeah. But
Yeah.
again, the biggest problem was Thrawn, even in the books, was that they did write him too smart to the point where you would have to cheat to ever beat him. Like, there were times where good guys would be trying to sneak around in his territory, and they turn a corner, and he's like, "Hi guys, yeah, I knew you'd come here." You're like, man, like you're writing him. They do write him too good, but now
It's because he studied their culture's art style, Keith. That's how he knew them.
Yeah,
that's how he defeated everyone.
Too good, and then they made him too stupid. So, all right. Anything else we should touch upon?
No, I think that's it.
That's
right on. Kid Mystery, where can we find more of you on the internet?
I'm not really anymore, but
well, yeah, you're at school. You don't have time.
Cool.
Yeah, exactly. I'm in school.
All right, then, MJ, where can we find more of you on the internet?
You can find me on all the socials at MJ3342. That's EMJAY3342.
All right, Isaac, where can you find more of your work on the internet?
You can find me on Lobster Bank Reviews. Go check out my video on Mr. Beast and how to destroy him using the power of Judaism.
And then you can find me at Keith Justice on Instagram, at Keith Hayward on the Twitters. You can find this podcast on more on popgeeks.com. Look us up on YouTube. We're the Couch Command Podcast. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next one. Likely will be Loki Season 2.
And remember, till next time, geek out.
Rack on.
Bye-bye.